Hey folks, I'm Jack Fossett, and welcome to this demo and review of this classic little guy, the MXR M104 Distortion Plus. These are so cool, and they're well known, and they've been around for a long time. This is the modern iteration of it. This one has seen some use and has been pretty worn in and everything, and they're great in their simplicity. They have a tone that's been used countless times on a lot of different recordings and everything. It's kind of got this it's not like a brown sound distortion. It's kind of somewhere between an overdrive and almost like a fuzz in some ways, but it's surprisingly versatile for its simplicity. Now, the way that you get the most out of these pedals, generally speaking, is to put it in front of an amp that's already breaking up, whether a little bit or a lot. If you've got it on an amp that's already kind of pushed and sort of ready to explode, then that's when this thing really sings and gets the classic tones. Now, you may have noticed that just at the beginning of the video, when I played the bypassed signal, notice I say bypassed signal, it was a little bit gritty. The reason I say that is because I hate pedal demos where, somebody says, well, here's my clean tone. It's like, it's not a clean tone. Anyway, so I'm not going to pass that off as a clean tone. That was a bypassed signal. Now, I was using this guitar in the intro. It's a Gibson Sg. It's got Lust for Tone humbuckers in it. This is a great guitar. It's a great rocker guitar. I'm plugging into a Supro Amps Royal Reverb. Now, that's what it sounds like kind of in the classic sense, going into an amp that's pushed a little bit and, using humbuckers and really getting a driven sound. For the next part of the demo, I'm going to use a Fender Telecaster. I'm going to clean it up and play this pedal going in with single coils into the amp totally clean, because of its character, it can actually do this kind of unique bluesy thing just on its own if you use this straight into a clean amp. And again, when I says, like I mentioned, it doesn't really get the brown sound. This is not a pedal that just gives you rip-roaring distortion right when you click it off all from the pedal, like something like the Dyna-Red Distortion or the Pinnacle or something like that. There's a lot of pedals now where you can just go from 0 to 60 just when you click it on. This pedal's not like that. It doesn't quite have that kind. It needs to get the classic distortion sound, it needs to springboard off of the amp. However, again, as I mentioned, it has almost these shades of fuzz tones that you can get. Classic distortion that's not distortion. I don't know. It's hard to describe. It's kind of, I've done a demo of the Distortion 3 too, and that one's really very much more like an overdrive pedal. This one has just got its own cool, unique character that's its own thing. It's just not your basic distortion like you might expect. So again, next we're going to play a Fender Telecaster with the amp clean and kind of let you hear. It really fattens up the tone in a cool way. It kind of has this sort of thick upper mid-range thing going on that has a hint of raspiness. Now, the raspiness is, again, that's something that works a little bit better when you jump into an already pushed amp. Where I think this pedal really shines is when you back the distortion knob off and use the output to push the amp. Now, I'm not generally a person who uses a distortion or an overdrive as just a clean boost, but this one is not just a clean boost when you back the distortion off. It gets this cool, crunchy tone. It kind of loses a little bit of the raspiness, and just, I don't know, it just gets into this cool, fatter, almost more like a tube distortion kind of sound when you back the distortion off. You just heard that with this one a little bit. I'm going to do the same settings with the Telecaster and everything, again, just going into the amp differently. But I think that's, for me personally, where I like this. When you really get the distortion cranking, it's a lot. It's got a little bit of raspiness. Now that can be smoothed out and everything, kind of depending on how you set your amp and your guitar's tone and whatnot. But it also, like, it can be very quick to squeal with some feedback and things. So I just think that that's where this pedal really shines, is kind of keeping the distortion, anywhere up to about 3 o'clock-ish. And I liked it kind of back here more at 10 or 11 o'clock. I thought that's where it sounded good, and then just get the output really rip-roaring. Now, of course, I have the little kind of rubbery wheel things on here for this video. So let us know what you think in the comments. I feel like this is another one of those pedals that, for as classic and well-known as it is, I feel like it's misunderstood. And I've mentioned this about the Distortion 3, that I think the Distortion 3 is sort of named improperly because I feel like it is in itself more of an overdrive pedal. And I think they're cool pedals, but I think they can be sometimes maligned and sort of overlooked because people just don't get them and they don't quite get what's the right way to use them. So let us know in the comments, do you have an MXR Distortion Plus? Have you tried one? Have you played one? Do you play the MXR Distortion 3 or another? The only one that I have not played that I'd love to get my hands on someday is the kind of much more rare Distortion 2, which they float around out there used and everything, and I'd love to try one out so that I can have the trio of MXR Distortions. Now, the other thing to mention is this is the modern iteration of it, owned by Jim Dunlop. This is going to sound a little bit different than the old script logo ones, the old hand-wired ones and things. The character is going to be the same, but the delivery might be a little bit differently. So keep in mind this is the modern consumer version of the pedal as opposed to what the exact original one would be. So again, let us know in the comments, what's your thoughts? Do you like the tone? Have you played these pedals before? Stick around for some tones with the Fender Telecaster. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the video.